We are live. How you doing?
Good, man. How about you?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. I'm actually excited to kind of run through everything with you and kind of get to know you a little bit more. I know you said you've been in THEO for a little while now.
Yeah, it's been a little bit now. I got pretty lucky. So
Awesome. That's awesome. But cool. So let's go ahead and kind of get it started. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, and then we'll kind of go from there.
all right. Hi everybody. My name is Corey Smith. I'm from Miami, Florida, 36, single father, uh beautiful 4-year-old princess. Used to be in the United States Army. Jumped into crypto and now I'm in the IT world, in school for IT information technology, but going for cybersecurity. That's it. Just trying to fake it till I make it out here.
Yeah, no, for sure. And did where do you currently live as far as state and city?
I live in Miami, Florida still.
Miami, Florida. Okay. And did you grow up there, or were you born and
Yeah,
raised there?
yeah, born and raised here. I was also, 20 minutes south is the Florida Keys.
Mhm.
I lived there for a little while, most like the later teenage years of my childhood. But came back here and then joined the army straight from Miami and left.
Cool. And how long did you join the army straight out of high school, or did you work in the meantime, or
It was like a year after.
okay.
So
And
I was still 18. But I was turning in 19.
okay.
But
So that was, what was it? That was 2005.
five for me. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2000.
So 2000, the early 2007 is when I left.
Mm,
So
mm.
a year and a half. Yeah.
So you were that was 2005, and then 2007 is where you got deployed.
Right.
Interesting. And where did you get deployed to?
Iraq.
It was in Iraq. Okay.
Yeah.
And and how many deployments did you end up doing?
I did two in the army and then two contracting. So I did ended up doing four.
Hmm. About four. So interesting. What was that like? I'm always fascinated about these stories of deployments.
You know, it was it was a great time. Like, to be honest, like, other than the situation, like, it was a great learning experience, a growing up experience. You go somewhere, you see stuff, and you get to see a big part of the world real fast, and
Yeah.
you got to grow up. But we had a lot of fun out there, with the people that I was with, and so it makes the time go a lot easier.
Interesting. What was like the day to day? I'm always curious about that too. Like the day to day activities. What was that like?
The day to day was really, you wake up, you go, you do some exercise, you go eat some chow, and then
Yeah.
you go do your job, and then you just got to deal with whatever comes because you never know what's going to happen that day.
Yeah.
Your base could be getting bombed. I did a lot of convoy security, so I was out on the road a lot.
Mm,
So mostly I got lucky. I got to hang out at the gym all day and kind of do whatever I wanted. But a lot of people, it's not like that. But you're basically, it just depends on day to day. You're just trying to find something to do until it's time for you to ride that road, or you know whatever.
yeah. When you guys did convoys, did you go into the urban areas, or was it primarily like rural areas?
I went everywhere, so urban and rural.
Yeah.
I was out of my first deployment. I was out of TQ, which is Camp Al Takadum. It's just west of Ramadi and Fallujah. So
Mm,
we did a lot of convoys to Ramadi, Fallujah, and then up north to Al Assad. Um, and then my second deployment, I was down in actually in Kuwait, and we did long haul convoy security. So basically, it means I ran the whole country of Iraq from starting in Kuwait all the way
mm.
up to northern Iraq and back down.
Wow.
So yeah, that one was pretty wild.
Yeah, I can only imagine going through an urban area like that. Where did people like Americans, or were Americans pretty disliked kind of throughout the cities?
It was mixed back
Yeah.
and forth. You never really knew. the kids, kind of seemed to like us. I would always try to give them, we would stock up on our coolers and stuff before we
Hmm.
would leave. So we'd have water and like muffin snacks, crap like that, just to keep you like awake, or if you got hungry on the trip to, feed on. But I would give them all out and stuff. So, but for the most part, I ran into some decent people over there. Like I got some pictures with some guy, he was a trucker. He was out there with his son, and his son was with him on the road. So that was pretty cool. Like we didn't get to like communicate. I didn't have my interpreter with me at the time. So
Yeah.
but it was, I felt it was mixed. I felt like they liked it. Like, some people, they wanted to be free, they just didn't want to live under their thumb anymore.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine. And I can also imagine driving through those urban areas. It's got to be tense when
Like
you're
booty hole like this, like
I can imagine.
it gets, they have, it's on a main road, but they have a actual segment that was called the Widowmaker, because
Hmm.
you're running on an off ramp, you're going the opposite way, and it's a tight corner. And it was well known for being laced with IEDs and RPGs, and that's why they called it the Widowmaker.
Shit. And it also too, it seems like in those urban areas, there's just so many potential angles I could imagine. So you're just like heads on a swivel and it's got to
Yeah,
be fucking
at all times. Like you're, you're, like I said, like that. Like you're sitting up there just moving and just constantly looking. And then sometimes like you're in an area where there's so tall buildings, you can't even really peek your head out. Like
yeah.
you can't even look for anything. You have to just sit down and, hey, trust my equipment, and whatever comes.
Yeah, that's crazy because
That's crazy.
it's I can't even imagine because you're going through and you're looking at every window. I mean, every person. It's like everything's a threat because it is in a
Right.
way, and you're
That's
just
how
kind
you
of
have to look at it anyway.
yeah. Wow. Because I think a very small amount of people ever go through something that stressful, I would imagine. Like it's something to where you have to be that alert or that aware. It seems like a
Right.
lot of people are kind of like daydreaming through their lives, just walking through. And it's like
Right.
I could only imagine going through something like that. It's a level of awareness, I guess you could say, that's probably a lot of people probably don't have never really
No.
experienced either.
And the side effect of that is it's hard to turn off. Like
Yeah.
now my body is and my mind is trained for that. Like I
Mm,
everything you assess and deassess, assess, deassess. It's stressful. It's pretty stressful, but like just it depends on how you deal with it and who you had out there. Like it
yeah.
was didn't think about it at the time, you know, till
Yeah.
later.
Yeah, that's interesting. So how long did that go? How long were you there for? Did you say again for the
My
deployments?
first tour was 1 year. My first tour was 15 months, and my second tour was 1 year. And then
Interesting.
my last two tours that were contracting were both a year.
Mm. What would you say that taught you, I guess, about life in general? Like I'm sure you had a lot of learnings from those. What did you learn, I guess?
Everything, I guess, like that was mainly it. Like, you think back on history and just how the Romans used to march, all
Yeah.
over Europe, and those guys would go into brothels, the bars, and then home, and then back marching on the road to fight again.
Yeah.
It's you want to see travel, see the world. Like it taught me a lot, philosophically, and then just awareness wise on where the direction that we're going in our world even today.
Yeah. Would you say that it increased your faith in humanity or decreased it, those experiences?
Um, the, the experience, knowing what I know now, I would say now it's kind of decreased a little, it's different. It's not like, like the Romans did back in the day when they were just, conquering from city to city and then building. Like now, I think it's, a lot more deceptive and trapping
Yeah.
people, and it's pretty disgusting world out here right now.
Yeah, I guess with the Romans, it was so straightforward. It was we're marching until we find some people with some
Right,
shit we want. We're gonna take it, and
right.
it was you either like it or you don't,
Don't.
And it was very straightforward. I feel like to your point, I could see why it could be very deceptive. I mean, even the Ukraine war going on right now, a lot of the Russian soldiers were complaining that they didn't even know that this is what they were doing. It was just kind of thrown upon them in a way.
Yeah, I feel bad for some of the Ukrainian people, but this is the way of life, and I think
Yeah,
we've done it. The United States has apparently done it. Without throwing political affiliation out there, like if that was my problem with what I was just saying in Iraq.
yeah,
It's clear we were there for oil, and you sent me and people like me over there for no effing reason.
yeah,
And you know, I've like how do you take that now? Like how me now instead of an 18-year-old child now at 36? Like what am I supposed to think like
yeah,
now? Like and that tells you a lot basically. So if they were doing that 18 years ago, what are they doing now?
yeah,
And they're funding it. So
yeah.
uh, uh you know uh, and they literally have Nazis in their army. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. Do you think a lot of this stems from just a fight for resources in a way?
Absolutely. This is like the game of risk. This is the world. This is the
Yeah.
game of risk. Now it's all just about deception and perception.
Yeah.
That's it. People, forget a little bit about history. Russia actually took a huge hit in World War II against the Nazis.
Yeah.
And here they are again. You go back to the Minsk Accords, and hey, you can have your sovereignty, just you're never allowed to join NATO. That would be like Russia trying to put a military base in Mexico or Canada. Are we going
Yeah.
to allow that? Absolutely not. So
Right.
why would Russia allow that in Ukraine with a
Yeah.
NATO base? It's just not smart. They can spin it however they want, but it goes down to that. People, they try to throw out all those deceptors on you, and oh, this side does this, that side does that. No, it's black and white down the middle. Would we allow it? No. Why would they? Period.
Right. Right. Yeah, when I listened to his speech, I think it was like 1 or 2 months after they invaded, and he was bringing that up, and I was like, that's such a good point where he brought up, we wouldn't allow for Russian missiles to be in Canada, and why would they allow that in Ukraine?
Right.
And I thought that was such an interesting point because our media, of course, is going to tell us different things
Right.
than what what their
Right.
media is saying.
It actually got me paying attention a lot more to media overseas. I think Revolution TV on Twitter and a bunch of other places to get my sources of information from.
Yeah,
It just confirmed things that I already knew, but this really set it off where my mind, it was like, oh crap, started freaking out, like we're about to be in some more crap, and we shouldn't be there. We shouldn't be doing this. There's a lot going on at home.
yeah, yeah, and it ends up I think that the toughest thing about war in general, at least what it seems, is even afterwards there's always effects going on, like with the people that were involved in the not only the citizens of that country, but also the soldiers from the other country that are also involved as well, the families involved. How would you say after you left the military you were, I guess, impacted either like mentally or physically? Like what
You
happened to
know,
you, I guess?
at first, I didn't think I was,
Yeah,
uh, and now it's clear. Like I think I think when it's just like anything, your mind and your body are one. It's like if you don't fill your mind up with knowledge, you're not going to be. It's not active. It's the
yeah,
same with your body, and vice versa. I think leaving there and not really having a purpose really
Mm,
affected me. Like just coming back home, I went contracting. I had a purpose. I was loving that. I was making a stupid amount of money. I lived
yeah.
overseas basically. I traveled Dubai, Italy, Spain, Germany, a bunch of places. And then coming home and all right, it's time to, find a job and settle down and just sit here and I got a great job. I ended up working at UPS um down in the Florida Keys. Got in as a full-time driver pretty fast, which is like really crazy, unheard of. I think I got it within like 7 months, so
Mm,
it was really fast. But then I was sacrificing my time for somebody else again,
yeah.
and I was low man on the totem pole, and I was like, this is not what I came home for. Like,
Mm,
this is not my purpose. This is not. I'm not here to be somebody's little. Oh, here you got your box today.
right.
like, and it really started affecting me. Plus, I got into some drugs and during that time, but it really made me stand out and see time. Time is
Yeah.
your most precious asset, and it's being taken. People are working 70, 80, 90 hours, in a dual income household. Like, where? Why?
Yeah.
That's wrong. And that really affects you, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that purpose point that you brought up is such an interesting point. I can only imagine once you've been doing something for that long and you shift, it's like, what the hell am I doing now?
Right.
I can only imagine that. I mean, hell, I mean, I went through. I think everybody goes through that at some point when you shift dramatically like that. You're like, what do I do now?
Yeah. And then your military stuff still doesn't turn off. Like,
Yeah.
so, and a big problem with me at UPS was I got into the truck and I moved too fast. Everything was like a mission to me. Like, I didn't know how to slow my mind down
Mm,
and do like the union how they wanted me to do, and nice and easy, safe basically, and everything. Every time I got behind the wheel, I was on the road. That's it. I'm flying to the next stop, looking at my thing like I'm not supposed to, and it was tough. And then I had a car. I was making a left-hand turn towards going home towards the building one day, and a car backed out and hit my truck.
mm,
And UPS basically at the end of the day said it was my fault. I should have known that. I should have looked or been able to see. I honked. I did everything. There was nothing I could do. He backed up.
yeah.
So, anyways, when he hit me, like when you come around the corner, they have little methods. You turn, you look for lights, and did all that. Honked the horn as I came down. Plus, we always come when we make that turn. We always honk when we're coming down because it lets our guys in the warehouse know that we're coming in, that a truck's coming, so that way they can get ready to unload. And there was actually a festival going on. It's right down in the street from a local brewery.
Hmm.
Brewery. So there was people on the other side of my road. So there was no way for me to move. And when it hit me, it just caused a flashback. I like froze in my seat. I was like, stuck, because
Mm,
when something hits your truck, where I'm from, you're having a real bad day.
yeah.
So and that kind of messed me up later. But then when they told me it was my fault and I was put on a little suspension, that it just really affected from there. I was like, yeah, I'm not. This is not me anymore.
Yeah.
Like, what is my purpose here? Like, this is not it. I don't care what this check is every week. It doesn't matter. This is not worth my time.
Yeah. How long ago was that?
That was about 5 years ago,
About 5 years
or
ago.
four, man, 4 years ago, four to five.
2018, 2019. Okay.
Yeah, 2019. It was around 2019, 20, right before COVID. So 2019, 2020.
Okay. And then from there you decided, I'm gonna go and do IT. Was that kind of the shift that you
No,
wanted
it
to?
wasn't from there. I was actually going to start a business
Mhm.
when COVID happened. And I was married at the time. And But I got one of those COVID divorces, I guess, coming on.
Yeah.
So we didn't make it through because I had, a good amount of money saved up in my 401k from UPS and then from other money prior. And I was going to go down there and start a decorative concrete company. I've had friends who started. My one buddy, after Hurricane Irma, started just a screen porch company, and he's doing over 2 million in sales now.
Wow.
Yeah, and so another one started a PVC fence company. PVC, the regular PVC fence, because he can get them at wholesale instead of building the wood fences or the chain links down there. And so he started that, and he's doing great. So I was going to start decorative concrete, something nobody has. Everybody has a pool. Everybody normally has a deck, especially your people on the canals. And I could sit there and make it. It's kind of like stamping, but it was I forgot what they called it, but either way, it was like a stamping and epoxy, but not either one.
Mm-hmm.
So, but their technology was useful like that. I could turn it into what I wanted. So if you wanted a stencil of a Florida marlin, on your deck right by your canal, I could have done that.
Mm.
So I was really excited about that. And then, me and the wife thing happened. Of course, our children were there. And and I got moved out and never moved back in. And so I moved back up here to Miami and did some construction for a while. And then I went to a waste management plant. And then that was around the time when I found out I was getting sole custody of my daughter, and I couldn't run that shift no more. So I had to take a pivot, and I thought, okay, well, due to my benefit, the Army pays me to go to school. I'm totally in the IT world. I think we're obviously going digital.
Yeah.
So they need, I was looking at things, and, in the IT world, it's really not about it's certifications, but it's also about experience and time in. I was like, well, I need to hurry up and get this experience and get my time in. And, so IT was kind of my number one choice.
There's a guy named I don't know if you know him or not. His name is Bowtied Cyber. He does, I think he does like a boot camp to get people into IT within like 3 to 6 months or something like that. I don't know if you know who he is or not.
No,
His name is Bowtied Cyber, but
I've probably seen his name around, but yeah, I would sign up for that immediately. Because especially in especially in the IT world, any knowledge that you can just keep piling in you're not gonna lose on it.
yeah,
The IT world's always changing anyway, so you always need to, be a step up, and so you're always constantly learning. So I'm definitely, I have a bunch of Udemy courses I do.
mm,
I also go to school right now as well, but I'm into everything. So any
nice.
learning I can get, I'm with it.
Hell yeah. Is that, would you say that's your number one goal right now? And primarily because you of course have your daughter as well, so you can kind of work from home and
Right.
then
That was
that's
another
smart.
thought. I was like, where could I work when I go to get this job? Because like I could have went into a career college and got an HVAC certification, and made decent money coming out. But what am I going to do with my daughter during this time?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And now that I'm the sole parent, that a time was another concept that I'm not willing to budget with. That your
That
time
makes
is your
sense.
most precious asset. You can't buy it, you can't take it back, you don't get it back. And that's it. And your children, I don't want my child being brought up by anybody else but me right now.
Yeah.
And plus, also, I want to enjoy my time with her. I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to get these years back from her.
Yeah.
This is where she's going to remember for the rest of her life, and I'm going to be here.
Absolutely. And she's 4 right now. You said, right? 4?
Right. She just turned 4 May 22nd.
Okay.
Light of my
You
life,
just
man.
turned 4.
Yeah.
That's amazing. No, I think that's smart, man. It's a way that the world's going anyway. And it's interesting. You picked that, in my opinion. I was just talking to somebody about that too. It was the two most, it seems like the two most common sense business plans right now are either digital or going purely physical, which is like HVAC or some sort of construction
Right.
as well. I know I have a buddy too. he does landscaping, and it's so interesting seeing how rich people can get from boring shit like that, you know.
Right.
It's incredible.
Right. I got another buddy who I was doing on the side, like days I didn't have school, pressure washing. That
Yeah,
was another one where,
yeah,
man, you could make some serious money. And I thought about starting that myself too. And then I was just like, you know what, just go to school. That way you can get this job, maybe go work from home somewhere. I can, if I'm ever allowed to leave farther from her mom, then I could go somewhere that's less expensive and be able to enjoy life that I'm trying to give to her.
absolutely, man. 100%. Um, I guess one question that I had, because you brought up some really good points. One question that I had for you was, what was the sense of brotherhood like when you were deployed with those other men that you were partnered with?
It's indescribable, to be honest. It's one of those, like, I could pick up the phone and call some of these guys now,
Yeah,
and it would be like we never left, even though I haven't spoken to some of them for 4, 5, 6 years. Like
yeah,
on the phone, like sometimes we talk on Facebook or we share a video here, but it's like that. It's a never ending family. Like it really is indescribable. Like these guys have seen you through your lows. Like, so my second deployment, I was married. I got married to like a childhood sweetheart, and she ended up cheating on me, which
mm,
is a big thing that happens when apparently a lot of people go overseas. But I once saw it happen to a bunch of my guys, my second deployment, and then it happened to me as well.
yeah,
So like nobody is above that happening to you, and when that happens, those are the only people to lean on. That's
yeah,
it. And your head needs to be clear because guess what? I'm doing convoy security and I was a gunner. So I can't have that on my mind. Like, I'll tell you, it happened. Like, I sat up there in my gunner's hatch one day, like after it happened. I was just like, I was sitting up there and I was like, kind of, I was smoking cigarettes and I was like, I was sitting above the hatch. You're not supposed to do that in case, you get sniped or something. And I'm like, screw it, take me. Like, and that's just where it puts you.
yeah.
But when you have those guys around you and then you're going to the gym and just being active and getting on it, like it's indescribable. Those people are, people, brothers for life, brother ancestors. Like I had females out there too. And it's really indescribable.
That's actually super inspiring, man, because that's what I want to create with Theo, to be honest. I think there's a lot of emphasis right now when people look at the project, they're like, oh, it's just crypto and affordable housing. We're like, dude, what I want to create is, in my opinion, is as a collective. I think it would just be really fun as a community or as a collective of people to own a bunch of housing together. And it's just somewhere that when we pass on, our families can reconvene there. If we need it right now, it's like, hey, there's this, you have a network of housing. Hey, if you need something, go
Right.
there. It's affordable. And when you don't need it anymore, you move on. And it's just something that, to kind of recreate some sort of brotherhood together. I think that's the only thing that'll last. Because if it's just tokens and all this cheesy nonsense, it's not going to last. I think it has to be a true sense of depth, and even if it's you know connecting in a way of like, hey, I need this, or I'm going through this right now, and the community rallies. I think that's the only way you can actually create something valuable. It can't be just price, and it can't just be about technology. That's not going to
Right.
last.
Right. And if you further into your point a little more, if you look at like how the SEC is approaching things and everything
Yep.
like that, organically and use case,
Yep.
organic and use case, those are two things. And real estate is a number one beneficiary of organic and use case. You can use, for a lot of stuff, your deeds, your NFTs, anything like that. And then obviously providing a use case like housing is just huge. So
Yep.
I that's what when I found out about Theo, I was like, okay, like let me go ahead and put what I can in here and hold on. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah, and just like the Romans, man, I think it's going to happen to where I was talking to an agent yesterday. humans will always want to take, or I don't want to say take land or conquer land. They're always going to want to expand into more land. And over enough time, I don't know what this time horizon is going to be, but every single piece of property that you look at will either be owned by a corporation or some
Very true.
community, and it's going to
Right,
be, no, you cannot enter this unless you're a part of their group,
right.
right? And it's like, I think that's what I want to create, is like there's a tribe of brotherhood, and then we expand into physical property together. And it's, no, you cannot access this unless you're part of our shit. You know, that's what I wish to create over the long term.
Is
But as
that
far
really
as,
noisy? And is the background noise pretty noisy for you? For me?
no, it's not
No.
bad at all. Yeah, no
Oh,
worries. Yeah, no worries at all. So as far as your next, let's just say the next 60, 90, or let's just say the next 6 months, what are your goals? Is there anything that the community could do for you in a way as well? Because obviously you served. I want to rally behind anybody that's a veteran, of course, and obviously anybody that's a Theon as well. What are your goals in the next 90 days, and how can the community potentially help as well?
Well, really, I really wouldn't know where to say could help. I'm not really good at, like, let's say if I, had to ask for help or anything, I wouldn't even know where to start. But I'll just tell you my personal goals, and maybe that'll help fill it in. Right now, I'm just trying to work and fix all my credit. I live in a small little, if you can see my my man-made Porsche back here. Yeah, I live in a small little efficiency with just me and my daughter. It's a 1-1. I gave her the room due, for requirements wise on having her. I sleep on the couch. So right now I'm just fixing my credit, and then hopefully looking to buy a house soon, get into something, I'm trying, really don't want to try to sit here and time the market because
Yeah,
inventory is drying up down here. The Miami really hasn't taken as bad of a hit where prices are dropping, but inventory is dropping, but prices are still going up.
yeah.
It's just it's very hard right now to figure. I'm still thinking that there's going to be a crash, but like at the end of the day, do I have the capital at the time to wait for that? Will I have the capital available when that time comes?
Right.
No, like it's so really my basically just my goals are just keep my place, keep working on my credit, and just make a way for my daughter where she doesn't even know. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah, absolutely. Would you say it's the credit getting into the IT, and then the maybe like in a condo or an apartment, like into like a 2-1 or something like that? Would that be your
Right,
goal?
right, definitely. IT actually does finish in about 6 months, so
Nice.
and that would be the first. That would be my first step is trying to find even a level entry job. It wouldn't matter, just anything where I can, on top of getting now and stuff like that. That way I could upgrade and move out. Like, but right now, even though I don't like where I'm at, it does work out in my benefit right now as I'm able to help pay down my credit,
Yeah.
and afford me, the availability and the time to have a little bit of freedom.
Dude, I think that's perfect, because it's like something where it's low enough to where it gives you ability to pay down to other elements as well, and it's something that obviously gives you time too, which is super helpful. I
Yeah,
think it's smart, because
there's
there's so
your
many
choice.
people that are like stretching themselves so damn thin just to try to get into an apartment, and I'm like, dude, you're burning everything you have just to live in this apartment right now. It's not worth it, and they're
Yeah.
not willing to scale down to something that's more practical to achieve their actual goals. So I think it's brilliant where you're at right now and what you're doing.
That was another thing. It was about, in the army. It was about sacrifice.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know how to do that. My soon-to-be ex-wife didn't know how to do that. She didn't understand what I was trying to do.
Yeah.
When I, even though we were, doing things, I was still working full time. Like, like she didn't understand where I was coming from, and probably made her, not trust me wise on whatever, because I don't understand how not, because I think my vision, and purpose is clear. Like, hey, like, this is what we needed to do.
Yeah.
We were already looking at places too, and she just didn't want to get with the program really, and it kind of was like, well, how, like, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. And there's a ton of people in the community as well, that are part of IT and everything as well. So I'm sure there could be connects there too on the IT and kind of with the goal of getting into a kind of condo or apartment as well, on that end as well. So I think there's definitely quite a bit of things that I can try to add value on, just as a kind of community member in general. I can see if I can get you connected to Cyber, because he's like the only person that I see. He's always posting about IT. Like that's all that fucking guy posts about. So maybe I'll see if he has any suggestions as well, and get you guys kind of looped in together there too.
Oh, that'd be great. Anything like that, that would be more helpful to me in the near term, short term, I guess,
Yeah.
than anything. Anything that I could get that would help me information wise or technology wise for a career, that would help me more than and it would be more than I would be willing to ask, like for anything else. You guys are doing great. Like I've noticed since joining, like the bow tie community is like, yeah, they have everybody there. Like everybody's pretty solid, knowledgeable in their respective categories or areas, and I'm really happy I found Theo.
Awesome, man. Yeah, no, absolutely, man. And I'm thank you for being a part of Theo as well. And I think a big part of this too is just building something that starts buying land collectively that we can accelerate. And I think, like I said before, the only way to do that is just to build like a brotherhood. You know what I mean? And it's like that just happens just by doing unscalable shit, which is one by one. Like anytime a Theon's like, yo, does anybody know this contact or this connect? And it's like, even if it's something small like that, where it's like, I know these guys in IT, that all that compounds into how you build something truly big, in my opinion,
Right. I absolutely agree with you. I think even to scale it even farther, because like you mentioned earlier about the corporations and people who owns the land, it's going to either be single people or corporations. Another way is to, hey, everybody trusts, have to build a lot of trust, and hey, let's all just put in this together and buy this place, and it'll be Theo's house, but such and such will live in it, and it stays within a community. Like
exactly.
I really don't know how to explain that in short-term words right now, like how I was just thinking about it, but like I'll probably message you later about it. But like, if you think about it, like if there's a way, like let's say, like you were saying, something you guys could do for me. If there's something, let's get a house where it's owned by everybody and I'll stay, but like it's paid like how the plan is in Theo, and that was still boost the community. So anything like that, yeah. And then from there, and then once like I can in the IT, and then I can help the next person try to find a place for another person, maybe somebody to onboard into Theo, et cetera, and just you got to start fast.
Exactly. And also too, I mean, it's like if you have a network of physical assets or properties, if shit ever goes down, the community knows where we can meet. We know where our properties are to collectively. Right. And it's like, hey, let's all collectively meet here, at these places, so it's just, to me, it's like the most common sense way of like organizing any sort of community. And like you said, it's like, maybe you're using that place now, but once you move out, somebody else hops in, or they become a part of the community. Now the community's bigger, and it just keeps growing that way. And then you move into the next one, or they move into the next one. You keep expanding that network that way, and that's the goal really, is like organization and kind of like a brotherhood. Because at the end of the day, this talk about currencies is cool, but the game is who owns the land. And that's the game that BlackRock's playing. That's the game that at the end of the day, that's the game.
Right. Yeah.
That's the game. It is like, who controls resources, who controls the land,
and who's getting it at what price, and how long can they hold on to it. And that's where they're hurting average Americans at, because they can sit here and play this game for the next 6-7 years.
Yep.
Because they're a corporation. They don't care. They're doing stuff for their business to move on from their business. The next head is going to take over and do the same thing.
Yep.
You know?
Exactly.
Here, there is no other head. Once my head's off, that's it. It's on my daughter, and then it's another generation. Like,
exactly.
So, you know, the game is time, and that's another part. Time. You know, who has time to sit here and wait for the market conditions to be right? Not us, not me.
Yeah.
I know that BlackRock does.
Yeah. No, exactly.
Time and capital.
Exactly. And I think that's where the toughest part for me is most people look at 1 year, whereas I'm trying to build something that, how do we look at something that's 100 years out and I can pass on to my son and saying, hey, here's a community of these guys. These are great men. You know, there's a lot of, there's all these properties here. If you ever need anything, if you ever need to go stay anywhere, you can go here. And I think that has infinite value. And that's the game that corporations are playing. And it's like, that's the only game that we can play collectively. Is it's something you can pass on, and it's, hey, I don't know if you'll ever need it, but here, this will give you access to these homes across the nation and a community if you ever needed it. And it's a simple concept, but I think that concept could be powerful one day, you know?
Right.
So, and the only way it grows is just by conversations like this, really, at the end of the day too.
Yeah. Networking. Your net worth is your network. That's it.
Exactly, man. So, but cool. And I appreciate you hopping on. And you know, what we can do is I would love to create, we're doing this NFT series where it's just Bet on America, where it's just kind of like us just betting on the community and just throwing in people who are community members, like, hey, I need this. And it's not always money. It could just be, I need to connect, or, you know, if there's any way you can help me with this, I'm more than glad to help. So it's just kind of connecting the community with different pieces and just seeing who has those other connections. Like for me, for example, if anybody in the community wants to get into real estate and they want to, learn how to make money there, I will take all the time that's needed to onboard people, get them a job, like whatever it takes. So I'm sure there's other people in the community that are also in IT that can do the same as well. And
I get fees waived for real estate. Don't tempt me.
There you go.
Yeah, my stepmom's actually a real estate agent, and I got, of course, a bunch of friends in the Keys, because that's a very small community. A couple islands together, that it's very small. Got a bunch of friends who have moved into real estate.
Yeah, and
it's just been amazing for them. And I'm like, man, my stepmom's been telling me for like 6 years to get my real estate license. And I just kind of blew it off, like, nah, it's bad. It's gonna go away with crypto. They're gonna put it on the blockchain. They're gonna X you guys out real fast, and then I'll be stuck with it. Another career that I can't use. And I'm like, yeah, kind of kicking myself in the ass for that now.
It's something that's interesting, because no matter which way you look at it, a lot of people always buy their first home, and it's going to be the biggest purchase of their life. And I think they're always going to need some human that they can trust. It's just kind of like a trust thing, where it's, I don't think they're ever going to buy just purely with software, just because it's such a damn big purchase. They're so fucking terrified.
Program you into that, where
exactly,
because even now, a lot of people, if you really look at it, a lot of people don't get a lot of people that they know, like as their real estate agent. So they're already moving you away with the amount of people in the market to finding somebody that or knowing somebody. Not even finding, or knowing somebody that that's a real estate agent that you trust.
Yep.
So they're already moving you away from that anyway. No, this is standard. This is the way it's going to be. That's it.
Exactly.
Well, the next phase is automation, and move that person out of the equation. That way, it's just you and the software.
Exactly. Yeah, it's going to be very similar to TurboTax. I think it'll be a program like that where
absolutely, basically.
Like you click on the home's address, you click the price, it'll just like fill everything up for you, and you're like sent, 100%. So, but cool, man. I appreciate you hopping on. It's been awesome chatting for sure. And
no, Mel, I appreciate you having me on here, man. It was really cool. I've never really sat here and spoke to somebody like this. It's like a first timer for me. I'm not really like an online streamer, or I've gotten into technology this far, networking like outside of, for me and my time. And that was another thing. It was big, the world, the changing, the evolution of, social medias and stuff like that from when I came it's very different now. And
Yeah.
so moving away from like Instagram and Facebook and all that crap, and like moving to Twitter, where you actually are connecting with people and branding and all that. Like those were concepts for me coming out of the Army I didn't understand. So you had me on here. This is like a first time for me, and I might seem a little nervous, but I'm really not. But I am. But it's really cool because I am good at this. I'm good at talking with people.
Yeah.
I understand, a lot of how the world works. I just have lost basically my voice on where it is because now the world has gotten big around me.
Yeah.
And so, so doing this is perfect for me. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man.
It's,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And appreciate you hopping on. And I completely agree that the world is getting noisier and noisier. And, at the end of the day, it's just about making one networking connection at a time and just kind of
right,
building that base collectively as well. And this is just me doing that too. It's like
right,
every network or chance I can get to talk to someone, I can learn something. And, it's also something that at the end of the day, you never know who you're going to need and when. And it's like, it's always good to just
right,
connect with like everyone,
right, right. And just being kind, because now you can get your voice out there. People can see,
Yeah.
this goes back to like where we were talking earlier about like the media and stuff. Like now you have basically two networks now that are state ran media. When you have two networks that are news, but they are left or right, you no longer have independent news anymore.
Yep.
This is how we're going to get our news from now on. They gave us the technology right here, Wi-Fi, being able to speak to each other. Could you imagine like having this back in the day? No, this wasn't, it was not, it was never going to work. But my point was like, we are now the media, we are now networking each other. This is how we get above that system. So this is where,
Exactly.
yeah,
It gives us control of our voice, but also control on how we choose to run a community, how we choose to organize ourselves as like a society, as well.
right,
And what I love about it, it gives people an option to join the society or community that they
that they
enjoy
want.
at the end of the
Right,
day. And it's
right,
like they could have their own currency, they could have their own social media platform, they could have their own organization. It's like these are our beliefs, this is our currency, this is what we're doing. And I think that's just so fucking powerful at the end of the day.
exactly. I think, and another big part of that is just like people are saying about your portfolio and diversification. You don't have to stay just in one community. You could be part of one group, but
Mhm.
you can be in different parts of communities.
Exactly.
And I think that is very powerful because that's when somebody understands, like, crypto Twitter to the outside world to, et cetera, et cetera.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah. And also too, the world is so noisy. I think Steve Jobs said it best. He goes, anybody that hears anything, they can only remember one thing about you. And it's like, I think it's a community or any project's imperative of like, what is that one thing, at the end of the day too. So it's like
right,
you can kind of build something that you believe in. And it's like when they think of that currency or that team or that community, it's like your money kind of represents where your beliefs are at the end of the day
right,
too, which is going to be interesting. It's like
right,
this is where my morality and my beliefs stand. It's like my money's where my mouth is. It's because there's so many people screaming on the internet at each other. It's guns rights activists, trans, black, white. It's all these things going on, and it's
it's
at the
all
end of the day,
noise.
it's like if you believe what you're actually saying, create something, put your money behind it, and then shut your mouth. And it's
Right.
like that actually
Oh,
creates
right,
action. You
right,
know,
right, right. Exactly. Creating action, doing something about it. To me, all that stuff that right now going on is just noise.
it's
The
noise.
more people, because like you said, the more people that we sit here and talk to, the more people that could actually understand, hey, it's not what they're telling you.
Yeah,
Like, not everybody in America is racist. Not every, there's shit going on, yes, but they're showing you and telling you what they want you to know.
exactly.
The farther you are divided, the better for them. It says it right on our dollar bill, our Constitution. United we stand, divided we fall.
Yeah,
And those words ring more truer to me now than they had ever have before,
yeah. That's
because this is where it is right now. If we unite right now, we can shut this down away. I saw a video. I know but I'll explain this. I think I'll send it to you. But it was a man saying if 30 million people tomorrow decided not to go to work, not to fill up their gas tank and head to their bank and pull out their cash that we know they do not have, this whole thing shuts down. Now,
Yeah.
the part of that is everybody united and say, you know what, I can go without eating for, let's say, that week, and let's not go to work, and organizing like that. And it's true, because once we unite, it's over. We can shut all this down. You're not feeding this machine no more, but that goes on with people being kinder to other people, and a lot of things got to happen. So.
Yeah, I mean, it goes on even further than that as well, where even rent, for example, if one out of 40 people didn't just chose not to, I mean, that right there would pretty much shut down the entire system of like,
Right.
I'm done playing this game, and
Right.
that would almost shut down the entire country in a way too. So
Right.
it's funny, we're unified right now, but we're unified on financial ways, like we're
Right.
making the machine run.
And that's
We're
where they
not
stopped us. Right.
yeah, but we're
Right.
not unified, in a social way, which is interesting.
Interesting, seeing as where we are on all these social platforms. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they have us programmed. The only reason why you don't do that is because you're scared. How am I going to eat? Where am I going to live?
Mhm.
These are things that should not be ever in question. So
No, it's I think any decent community or country should have the very bare bones basics. I'm not like a socialist by any means, but it's, to me, it's like we should make sure that everybody's got food on the table and at least a roof over their head before we do anything, and speaking to all these homeless people, it's crazy, man. It's like, where's all this money going?
at least the opportunity to do
The
that.
opportunity. Exactly.
That's where I'm at, because like you said, I'm not a socialist. I'm definitely sorry to tell you, I'm not even left leaning. I'm a little moderate to the right.
Yeah.
But I'm also understanding this world has gotten big, but if we keep allowing it to get bigger, then there's only one way, and you're going to have to lean on the government, or or you're going to have an uprising. So to avoid that, stop everything right now, conserve everything right now. Let's fix all the issues where they are right now.
Yeah.
And that goes into like healthcare and housing. And like you said, I'm not a socialist by any means, but we need to fix things right now. If we need to do some handouts now that protect your further generations down the road, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But everything else has to stop.
100%. And I think the best action that anybody can really take is just stop depending on the government altogether as much as we possibly can, and just find a group that you can depend on slightly more, and it's like, hey, at least I have slightly more trust in this group or these strangers, whoever they are, than I do the government themselves. And maybe that's all we need sometimes, is like a smaller group to just kind of coordinate with at the end of the day too, so.
Right. It's just like anything else. You just got to find a leader to rally behind, and you got to hope that they don't get too big of an ego, or and like the last one that had, and because that's where it falls apart at. I don't want to go into too much politics, but that was really a problem with the last one. I think the last one had the concept of a non-politician was a great idea, and that's what I voted for. Seeing what was going on, working overseas, etc. Learning more when I was working overseas about where our money was actually being spent from these older guys who invested a lot. These guys were big guys, in the contracting world, and they understood a lot. And when they explained it and then showed it, I was like, oh wow. So in the last one, the thought of a non-politician coming in who was gonna do a bunch of this stuff was great, until ego. It's all about what you get behind. So
everybody's got an agenda. His was just social status, attention and media. It wasn't like let's execute this shit.
He's human, but I mean, he got a lot of flack. But at the end of the day, it's no excuse. You had all three, you had all three branches. Your first, there should have been no. So unless you were truly fighting a bunch of people inside the party, which I think he was either way, but either way, there was still a lot of ego, and I'm just not with that. Like, if you're not doing it selfless, like, some values like that we were taught in the Army, like selfless service and integrity and morality, then I don't want you around me, man.
Yeah. Or at least be straight up about what you're doing too. It's like,
Yeah,
hey, here's
yeah,
all my cards. Here's my dick on the table,
right.
and take it or leave it.
For me, transparent. I'm an Aries, and I'm very strong-headed. Fire sign. I will show you my whole cards, tell you what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And that's just it. That's me. I wear my emotions on my sleeve. Like I don't care. I'm here with you guys. Like we're all in the same boat. But when you can't understand that when you're that high, that's
Yeah.
that's where the division came. I think is you're not going to understand me. You don't know how I'm living or how anybody around us is living right now. You're too old.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a really, really good point. That's interesting.
On the opposite side of that, though, I love RFK.
Yeah. Yeah. He
Love
looks like an interesting character.
the guy. And another thing that really gets me too is that the fact that they're attacking him on
Yeah.
media. Every media is attacking him. It tells me something. If you can sit here and really say like Joe Biden is great right now and this guy is not. I just saw a video last night actually where just probably a couple of years ago where I think some comedian or somebody was talking about, or maybe another senator or something was talking about how Joe Biden actually stole one of Bobby Kennedy's speeches and reworded it. And he's done that a couple times. I think he did it with another British prime minister or something like that too. And he basically took their speeches and just like, changed the little things. But he also did that to Bobby Kennedy. So anyway, that brings me back to, just the connection there for RFK to Joe Biden. Like the fact that Joe Biden took Bobby Kennedy's speeches, he's now passed, and now here's RFK. I don't know. It's crazy out here. There's so many things going on, man. It's so wild. But
It's
he just
noisy.
seems like a logical, smart guy, and some, the community at one point rallied behind the Kennedys before,
Yeah.
and so, I think he's someone. I think he's someone to look at. I think last thing, but if they could ever get where each party, somebody picked like a Republican or a Democrat, picked a Republican or Democrat vice president and said, hey, I truly want to work together. I pick you as my running mate. I think that's when everything will change.
Yeah. Yeah. I think things are swinging too widely, like to the left and to the right, where it's going to just end up being more center. And
right. So then you're going to have, now you have far right, you have far left. It's who's going to come in the center now and say, hey, I truly want to find a solution or a compromise, because that's all this is, and make it seem like it's bigger than it is, and it's not. It's all about solution and compromise. What's the problem? What's the solution? Where can we find a compromise in the middle?
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. And it just kind of comes down to the question of, are things too far to be even fixed, with debt and everything that we have anyway. Right. So it's, is it even fixable at the end of the day too, or do we need like some sort of like a clean slate, at the end of the day as well? So
yeah, there's just so much.
Yeah. 100%.
Well, Mel, I mean, I really do appreciate, and if you can definitely get with me on anybody who can help me like that, even Bowtie Cyber with that boot camp, I'll go ahead and try to add that into my budget and take that on my, off time too, and try to get into that, anything that would help me get somewhere a little further faster. I'm definitely with that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'll definitely keep you posted. I'll ask around and see wherever we can kind of get looped in with any IT connects or anything like that as well.
Cool, man. I appreciate it.
Cool. Well, awesome, man. Appreciate you hopping on, and I'll definitely be in touch.
Yeah, man. Thanks for taking the time out and talking to me today. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Appreciate it.